Okay, so today is our first day of this amazing Core Competency Spring Summit that we will have throughout the week. We have 15 amazing core competency sessions, and we're also giving out 22 core competency credits. So this is going to be amazing if you're looking to get your CCU credits for renewal or just, accumulating those. This is a perfect time. So if you want to drop your full name in the chat as you want your certificate to appear, that will be awesome. All right. So what are you willing to get out from today's session? I want to know just one word. One word. Knowledge. Okay. Growth, insights, awareness. Wonderful. All right. Continue to share. So today we will have Katie Drescher coming up at noon, connecting to something greater than ourselves. This is going to be an amazing, amazing presentation, as well as Vicky's. And at 5:30 p.m., we'll have Fran Fisher. She will speak about flow, mastering the artistry and fluidity hallmarks of MCC coaching. Okay, that was fast. And today with us, we have Vicky Bigio, with a career rooted in the art of professional development. Victoria Bigio, MCC, specializes in helping coaches and executives move beyond transactional conversations to achieve transformational results. Recognized for a pragmatic and deeply human approach, Victoria bridges the gap between the rigorous standards of the ICF core competencies and the demands of the modern, fast-paced, professional environment. Rather than focusing on complex theories, Victoria masters the practical application of presence, inviting leaders to explore how to use focus, silence, and intuition as tools to unlock potential. Welcome, Vicky. Welcome to ICF South Florida. We are honored to have you.
Well, thank you very much, Claudia, and thank you very much, all of you, for coming here. I am thrilled to share with you part of what has been my own reflection and also my own learnings. Even by doing and preparing this webinar, it was amazing the way I scaled my own perception and also understanding about what presence effectively does mean. I have named this this webinar, The Mystery of Presence, because there is certainly some very deep aspects of presence that are absolutely mysterious. And we are going to decode what are those mysteries here with you, okay? Also, I will be always sharing with you the counterpart of how presence is the antidote for AI coaching. And it's very key because I think this is being in the center of the discussion very much. Everybody's talking about that, what will be left for us coaches. And I think presence is one of the keys that we could cherish and also that we could learn deeply to navigate that with mastery, and probably that will be our key differentiator in the future that will come. Okay, so I was thinking about we are surrounded by good advices provided by AI. AI can analyze a SWOT matrix or even a personality test with much more speed and accuracy, better than any human. Also, it can craft a coaching plan in seconds or doing a brilliant analysis of our lives. Even it can simulate empathy and provide a perfect logic. But for sure, what AI is not being able to do is to bear witness. It's impossible for AI to even show or say, I am here, my heart is open, and I am changed by what you're telling for me. Okay? As opposed, AI is never changed by the client. It only updates its model. That's their function. So it doesn't have, it's key because it seems funny, but it's reality. AI doesn't have a nervous system to vibrate with client story. There is, and there is one territory that probably machine cannot follow, will follow us. And I call it this human sign. Okay, so in this decoding of the mystery of presence, we will see that it is not only a soft skill, but also it's a deep biological and professional mode that makes our coaching irreplaceable. So that means that we aren't learning a new tool. We are reclaiming our biological territory. In this sense, we are drawing a line between processing data and sharing our existence. So that's the big aim and the big purpose of this master class. Claudia, the next one. Okay. So what are we going to cover today? Okay, we are going to explore what is presence and its philosophical basis. Also, we will go a little bit a deep diving into what is neuroscience telling us regarding to presence, the neural switch, and we're going to explore what does TPN and DMN mode, brain modes means. Also, what is biological safety? What are the three domains of listening, the receptivity, the three axes of groundedness, and the power of not knowing, which is silence? What is presencing? What is the limbic resonance? And how our observation is also intervention. And also we will be sharing the depth of being. What does that mean? And also, if we have time, I will share with you some curated bibliography that I have researched for today's presentation that could be interesting for you. So, next slide. Okay, first of all, I would like to gather your perspective about presence. So what is presence for you? Who would like to start?
Hi, Vicky. Good morning. Well, for me, presence is connection. Is be there with the other person and connecting with all our sense. And as you said, and that I love that part, with our heart open to receive the whole person that is in front of us. That's presence for me.
Wow, beautiful. Connection, being open, receive the other person's as it is, as he is. Beautiful. Who else would like to share there?
I'm Coach Elaine. I go by chaplain in the military. I'm a United States Air Force chaplain. And so as a chaplain, we talk a lot about the ministry of presence. And in a chaplain's role, there's a lot of situations when someone has died that there is no words. There's literally nothing that you can say in that moment. And so it's the ministry of presence. It's the ministry of being with someone in their hardest moments. And so if you translate that into coaching, it's so much more about being with the person and listening. And in some situations, our clients have literally no one else to talk to about whatever their struggle is. So it's really powerful to just be, and it's not having that pressure to say anything, but just to be with someone.
Beautiful. Being with.
Kim, you opened your microphone.
Yeah, thanks. I was going to add the one word of value. It's kind of like the movie Avatar, whereas I see you. It's this head-to-head, heart-to-heart, recognizing the value that someone has and doing it without words, just by being with them. So
beautiful. Well, we are very well placed around what is presence, and we are going to decode why is this so mysterious and why is it so effective in coaching, and what is going deep into each one of them, of the concepts that are related to this magic tool that we have. And it goes back to 100 years ago when the philosopher Martin Buber in 1923 with a seminal book that was very impactful for that moment, called the Each and Thou. It's interesting because he spoke about something he named about, for that moment, the narrow ridge. The narrow ridge is for him that very thin line between being too detached, meaning being too objective, and too enmeshed, being too subjective. So presence, from this first perspective, was standing at that ridge. It's the difference between looking at the client as a puzzle to solve it, which is the I, it, and looking with the client as the horizon of the life, and he named that the I, thou. The argument here is that we only become fully human through the thou encounter. And that's what you all mentioned before, this deep encounter with other soul that we cannot even name, and it's very mysterious because why is that happening and what is triggered during that? So bearing witness for Buber has evolved from a very poetic idea like this to a very structured professional practice. So we go from Martin Buber through many authors like Laub in 1992, Glassman in 1998, Goldberg in 2012, but also in ICF, which has made a huge effort to standardize what is really present and they can put it into pieces so we can really be sure that presence is being taken place because of the markers that they have produced. We are going to go a little bit deep into that in some moments. So bearing witness were three specific things for Martin Buber. The first one was the biological cost. To bear witness is a somatic act, he said, is when a client shares a deep trauma or a breaking through, your nervous system vibrates with and it's called limbic resonance today. So AI can identify the word sadness and even generate a compassionate response, as we probably, a lot of us have seen. But that response will be based in probability, But what AI cannot do is feel the heavy air on the room. Why? Because it doesn't have a vagus nerve that tightens or a heart rate frequency that synchronizes with the client. So bearing witness requires a biological cost. You are lending the client your regulated nervous system so they can process their unregulated emotions. AI has no skin in the game. We do. The second point that composed this bearing the witness is what Buber called the validation being, the I, thou. So witnessing is the act of confirming that another person has a humanity. Okay, so AI is a sophisticated it. And when you talk to AI, what you're talking is to a mirror of human language. So humans, we all have this profound psychological need to be seen by another consciousness. When we bear witnesses as coaches, we are saying, I see you, I recognize you, your struggle, and your existence even is impacting my own existence. This mutual impact is what creates the sacred mystery of presence. And AI cannot be impacted by it. It can only be programmed. And that's a very interesting distinction. And the third component of this concept is the void, holding the space. Bearing witness often happens in silence, and many of us have already experimented, where no data is exchanged. It's just being there. It's just sensing something different that information. It's another kind of information, and we will be seeing how deep does it go. So AI sees silence as a lack of input, an error, or a pause, or it's something that needs to be processed with certain amount of number of seconds. I have been experienced AI coaching to test it, and in some moments it says you need to wait 2 more seconds or 10 more seconds to provide the silence, blah blah blah. So it has been programmed that to say even how many seconds you need to experiment. So you're losing the main purpose of this, okay? So for a human coach, silence is a very generative act. By staying present in silence without rushing to fix or input a solution, you are holding the space. You are witnessing that the not knowing of the client. AI is designed to know, and it cannot sit comfortable in the unknown. Okay, so I would like to invite you to a little exercise, okay? Because we are going to see how can we shift from TPN mode, task positive network, to the DMN mode, which is default mode network. So the first thing I am asking to you is close your eyes and think of a complex logical problem that you are facing this week. For instance, it could go from calculating your tax return or organize the calendar that you're going to be having this week. And I want you to feel and to notice the tensions that comes into your body while you are in this state. What happens in your forehead? What happens in your eyes? What happens in the feeling of your body? Try this a little bit while I am quiet. Okay, I am going to ask you to open your eyes now and soften your gaze And maybe look at the periphery of your room without focusing on any object. Try to do this. Just let your eyesight vague a little bit in the room. Maybe recall a person now or a pet from whom you feel an unconditional positive regard. Feel the warmth in your chest and feel what is happening in your body. Breathe. 1, 2, 3, inhale. 1, 2, 3, exhale. Expand your awareness now to the sounds of the silence in distance, the distance. And I would like to notice the shift. What happens in your body? What happens in your jaw? What happens in your chest? What happens when the need to fix vanishes? So briefly, I would like maybe in the chat bot to read your responses for this. More insight, growth, awareness, interesting. Tools, victorious wisdom. I can't wait for this session. Thank you for your service. Heart rate lowered and boundaries expanded. Very good. Very good. So, this exercise is very brief, but is very powerful before joining a coaching session. Is the way in which we can manually flip the switch from the TPN mode, which is absolutely necessary when we need it, and the DMN mode before a session. So try to recall it and apply it, and you'll see when you start mastering it, how can you enter the session from a very different perspective. Okay, so we are in slide 3, okay? Yes, are we? Yes. Anthony Jack, which was a researcher from the Case Western Reserve University, made also a discovery from neuroscience perspective that was very, very breaking in this field. Human brain has 2 primary high-level networks that are antagonistic among them. This means they function like seesaws. When one is active, the other is suppressed, and they are physically incapable to being fully active at the same time. And this is the TPN and the DMN, okay? So the TPN is task positive network, is the network that is activated when we engage in goal-directed tasks, logical reasoning, mathematical problem solving, being very sharp, very into the things. That's the TPN mode, okay? In a coaching context, that probably is the fixer mode. It is narrowed, it is focused, it is critical, and it is sharp. It looks for what it is broken and try to solve it. Here, the AI connection is that it is exactly how AI thinks. It is a cold, hyper-efficient TPN. The DMN is when the network activates during rest, daydreaming, social emotional self-reflection, when we're doing exercise, even when we are waking up in the mornings. It's a completely different state. This is the presence mode, okay? It's open, broad, not judgmental, and it allows clients to imagine a different future and connect from their deepest values. This space is where limbic resonance lives. It's very warm, very expansive, and AI cannot truly inhabit it because it requires emotional weight. So when we are in the TPN, and this is very important, we need to know that it suppresses empathy and creativity. So if you want to drive a client to imagine a new future, a creative solution, part of what we need to do is try to drive that client into the DMN mode, okay? So when you stay in analytical problems trying to solve something related to the TPN, you go into the analytical mode. And that happens when we are helping a client with a SWOT matrix or a tactical plan. And that's needed, very needed into the coaching sessions. I'm not demonizing this. It's what is the right place to each one of the things. But if you as a coach are very aware about the time, the clock, the notes, the asking the right questions from a performed list that you have to ask the right question, probably you are in the TPN mode as well. When you hear, you are also forcing your client to switch into their TPN mode. So you triggers his TPN, you block their creativity as well. So when you shift yourself, and we will going to be seeing why this works, when you shift yourself into presence, DMN, you literally give the client, the brain's permission to innovate. It's limbic resonance. We were going to see how that works because it's fascinating. Here is when deep coaching happens. So if you see the client in doing, analytical, and you start with your presence, you automatically are holding a new space for the client, which is absolutely key. So as coaches, our job is to be the switch. So when we drop our expert persona and we stay present, we actually trigger the client's DMN. We allow them to see solutions that probably they would have seen 5 minutes ago, okay? So part of the coaching cue here is, I am not here to solve a problem. I am here to witness a human DMN. I'm going to ask Claudia if she could share with you a file named a presence diagnosis. Claudia, can you share it here?
Let me tell you what I have. I have the evolution concept.
No.
And the presence mastery toolkit.
Only two. Okay. So the third one is not. Okay. So I'll send it to you. This text is a diagnosis. It's a shame that you cannot share it. It's a diagnosis. Did you find it? I did not
receive that. No, I only have the evolution of the concept.
Present diagnosis? No? Okay.
This might be it. Is it a PDF file? We were having trouble with the email. Sorry about that. Is this it? Is this it?
Let me see. No. No. That's for the end. Okay. Sorry, really, because I really wanted you to have this. This is but anyway, you will have it for the end. This is a diagnosis that you can make for yourself, in which you are going to analyze different sorts of ways of being during the session, and the way that you can rate yourself depending on how much are you going into the TPN mode or the DMN mode. It's very interesting because it takes very focused responses that can give you some very powerful insights. Sorry for the email trouble here. Okay, so can you switch to slide 5, Claudia? Okay. Okay, so we're going to see what is named the biological safety. Okay. Here, what this concept comes from a researcher named Stephen Porges, and he produced this polyvagal theory in 1995. And that theory told us that if a client feels judged or rushed, their social engagement system automatically shuts down immediately, and they move into the fight or flight mode. Even a very slight furrow in your eyebrow can trigger this for the clients. So mastering presence also implies that you need to train your own vagal tone. So your face, your voice, your heart rate even act as a Wi-Fi signal for safety. And this is very, very important. So before your client hears your first questions, the brain has already analyzed what he calls your prosody, which is the rhythm and tone of your voice, your facial microexpressions, and what he names the neuroception. The neuroception is a subconscious system in the brain that scans the environment for cues of safety or danger, and it does it 24/7, all the time. So we are always scanning people's faces, the environment, everything, and this is called neuroception, as opposed to perception, which is conscious. Neuroception is completely subconscious, okay? So if we are checking the clock, worrying about our next session, or judging the client's progress, probably our facial muscles will be tightened, and our voice is going to lose the melodic quality. Okay, so what will happen to the client? The client immediately is going to detect danger or dissonance. So their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain that we need for coaching, literally starts to power down as they move into a survival state. AI can mimic the words of safety, but it cannot provide the vagal tone that physically calms the human heart, okay? So what happens here is something even magical, that is the co-regulation effect. In coaching, we talk about holding the space. Biological, the translation to this is co-regulation. A client in distress is like a chaotic frequency. A coach acts as a stabilizing frequency when it's highly trained in how to manage its presence. The vagal break is when you are present and grounded and you activate your own social engagement system. And that sends a signal to the client's vagus nerve to release the brake. And so the heart rate starts slowing down and moving them from the defend mode to a connect mode. And this is not magic. This is sciencely backed in very deep research. So what is key here? Coaches, we need to manage our own groundedness, which is to offer our clients our own nervous system as a biological anchor. We aren't just listening to the story. We are inviting their biology to return to a state of safety and neuroplasticity. And that what real change can actually happen. So what could be here the most useful for the clients is control our microexpressions and control the tone of our voice, and be very aware about how is our heart being pulsing, the rhythm, okay? So as a comparison with AI cannot do this and will never be able to do, at least at this point of the evolution. The AI avatars miss this way and creates what feels distressed when we go into an avatar in AI, because they feel robotic. They feel that the tone of voice, even if they try to simulate some melody, it comes completely out of it feels like it's completely fake. So they have a monotone voice, and that monotone voice is not innocent in the coaching journey. It triggers threat. It triggers a response that we are in some environment that is not familiar for us. So one of our basic tools is the tone of our voice when we want to master presence. Okay? Also, when our heart rates, it happens what it has been called the rate variability, which is named also heart coherence. And what happens is that if we regulate that in our heart, slowly the client can be slowing as well his heart coherence. And this has been deeply studied, and they can shift from one state to another thanks to our intentional anchoring presence, which is grounded in deep self-awareness, but also deep self-regulation about our feelings and being fully present for them. Okay? So, as a lyrics exercise now, I'm going to ask you to notice your own breath right now. Look the way you are breathing, the way you inhale, and the way you're exhaling. But now try that when you exhale longer than you inhale, you're manually stimulating your vagus nerve to tell your brain, I am safe. Try to do this. Inhaling 4 times. Exhaling 6 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Once more. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if we do this as coaches, even when you are in the middle of the session, you can do this just to calm yourself, just to come back again to your center. Or when you feel that your client really needs that, your client will subconsciously mirror you with his mirror self. And within seconds, he will start to feel much more calm and grounded. That's the power of biological presence. Next slide, please. Slide number 6. Okay. So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for 5 seconds. And I want you to feel the weight of your feet in the floor and the temperature on the air on your skin at the same time. Be fully connected with this. How does it feel having your feet really deeply grounded in the floor? How do you feel your skin? So, this expansion awareness is the beginning of the somatic receptivity. We are receiving signals through our body. Now, imagine this while doing the same thing if you're listening to a soul. It's a completely different experience. And that's a very interesting trick to have in your toolkit box for presence. So what we need to start seeing this is a holographic nature of listening. We have three domains, as this slide is showing. In the cognitive domain, we hear the what. The majority of the coaches remain here in the what, in the cognitive. We listen for the client's story, their goals, even the mindsets, the logic, the keywords that are appearing during the session. That's the cognitive domain, and it's very useful and very powerful. But also mastering in listening is also listening to the mental map behind the words. Are they using limiting language? Are they stuck in a fixed mindset? Connecting this with past sessions. Is it a pattern? Is it a repetition from something different? What are the metaphors that the client uses that connects him to a singular way to see the world, and that is offered to us through his metaphor or their metaphors? So in the case of AI can't even transcribe these words perfectly and even summarize them as themes and in bullet points, impeccable, much better than us. But as a human coach, you are not processing data. You are detecting the friction of their thoughts. What thoughts are not aligned? What is the friction between one idea and the other one? That's key in the cognitive domain. The second domain is the emotional feel. Is the emotion that we feel the why. Is our ability to let the client a feeling land in you without you drowning. This is limbic resonance. So when your client feels, for instance, a little wave of grief or a spark of your joy, probably what we're happening is our mirror neurons are firing in sync. We're synchronizing with him or her. This is where the hum of the session happens. So if you are very busy trying to think about your next question, TPN mode, you go to deaf into this frequency. Sometimes we can even ask, I feel the weight of what you're carrying, and I am holding it with you. This is a sign that AI cannot simulate and cannot share. And this is very key for us. The third domain is the somatic sense. We feel the how, the body as the tuning fork. And here our bodies are incredibly sensitive sensors. I don't know if you have ever felt a sudden tightness in your own chest when a client was speaking. Something immediately triggers your emotions as well. Even though if you are very grounded and calm, or something, a sudden lightness when they touched your new idea. This is the somatic receptivity. So your body is always picking up the energetic shifts in the field before the client even realizes that he has been having that insight, or even that shift of energy. He's not necessarily aware of this. The body never lies. And when we are trained to see the body, the shifts on the energy of the body, we really are capturing a powerful tool that is incredible to use in the coaching sessions. So we don't ignore those sensations, we offer them back sometimes. For instance, I could say, as you were speaking about this deep transition that you're navigating, I felt a sudden surge of my energy in my hands. And I even felt my heart like having a little beating a little bit faster. Does that make any sense for you or not? The client can just say yes, or you can simply say no. But this is you using your own biology as a coaching tool. So one key concept here is we listen with our skin. We don't listen only with the ears or even listening with the eyes. We listen with the skin. And this is very important as well. Something important regarding to this concept is that we can show the dissonance between one domain and the other one. So when the client's words are not matching the client's energy, or the energy is not matching the emotion the client is telling, that is very key. So our job is how to integrate these three domains when we are in a coaching session, looking at the three of them, but also trying to hold them together for the client's purposes. Okay, so the next slide, slide 7, is regarding to what we call the 3 axes. So here I would like you to find your centered presence using this 3-dimension human existence, okay? So sit comfortable in your chair, put your feet on the ground, feel that you are fully here. Close your eyes. We're going to explore what is the vertical axis. Imagine a golden thread attached to the crown of your head, gently pulling you toward the sky. Feel your spine lengthen. This is your vertical axis. It represents your dignity, but it's also about dignity. It's about dignity without distance, and this is very important. Is the balance between heaven and earth. When we are vertically aligned, you are slumping into the client's drama. We are not stiffering in the judgment. We are upright, noble, and stable. That's our vertical axis. Feel it and see how do you feel when you are like this. Now we go to the horizontal axis, which is connection and compassion. Expand your awareness to your side. Imagine that you're breathing, moving out through your shoulders to the walls of the room. So when you breathe, your chest is expanding, expanding, expanding into the walls. And then you come back. This is your horizontal axis and represents your connections. So let's breathe again. Expand. Come back. And see the difference in your body, how by doing this, you are able even to feel much more the client. You can even feel much more the way I am speaking by doing this. That is connection, but remember that this is not enmeshment. In the I thou encounter that we saw at the beginning, this is how we reach out. If we are too narrow, you feel cold. If you are too wide, you lose yourself. So find that sweet spot in which we are open-hearted with, in which we can hold the clients without losing our own shape. This is very important. The third axis is very important, which is named sagittal axis, the now. This is the axis of time. It's the line from your back to your front. It goes from the back to the front of your heart. Imagine it as a line as well. Here, feel the weight of your back against the chair. How does it feel with the chair? That's your history. That's your ancestors. and your training supporting you here. Now, notice if you're leaning in too much toward the screen or in the client's future. This is anxiety. So when we go too much here, we probably are invading the client's space. When we are in the back or in the center, we are perfectly in the middle. That sagittal axis is having the complete consciousness that we are from the bottom to the ceiling. We are expanding our chest, and we are including our history, our background, and who we are here. So I would like maybe to listen to one or two of your answers here. How have you felt this exercise? Who would like to start?
Just one at a time. Vicky, I that really caught my attention when you said if you're leaning too much into the client or the screen, it can be like overpowering maybe for them, or you're anxious. And that's interesting to know.
Well, it's interesting because sometimes you need to be close to communicate much more your presence if that's needed. But sometimes it comes from your own anxiety.
Right.
So the key point here is being able to shift your weight until you are perfectly centered. This is the sagittal axis, okay? And it's the narrow ridge that we have been talking about and Wilbur spoke about. Okay?
Yeah, really good, really good. Annette?
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. It's more of a question. I get in my body the vertical, sort of the noble, the dignity, the grounding of our of our body, of our presence, and I get the horizontal, the expansion. That feels quite natural, but I'm not sure that I am understanding the sagittal in terms of back to front. How am I experiencing that in my body?
The idea of the exercise, of the concept, which is Damien Goldberg researchers, what it brings is that you bring also, and it's part of your being centered, your whole experience, your background, your knowledge, your story, your trainings, who you are. This is here in the back, and you project that into the center of all these three X's.
So it's like the whole of body and mind.
That's it.
Together.
That's it. Because you need to be there. And here, I think this is useful to understand when we are just in the mind or we're just in the emotion side. No, it's all of it. But from these three X's, it shows a much wider and deeper perspective about what presence means. It's not only feeling, oh, I am feeling sad because you feel sad, or all the cognitive work that we do at the beginning of our training, which is highly, highly in the mind, in the cognitive axis, is also here I am. This is who I am. This is my wisdom. And it's part of the presence. Okay? So mastering presence goes with the three cognitive domains, but also with the three X's. Okay?
Thank you.
So maybe I like some of you to share which axis was the hardest you to maintain when a client is crying? Is it the vertical? Is it the horizontal?
Vicky, I think Shakti had a comment.
Another question. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, no,
I
it's
thought
okay.
No, come
No.
on, go.
It's okay, and I think it kind of maybe goes a little bit into the question you just asked as well. I think, what I'm getting from these exercises and from what you presented so far is really it's about the presence with yourself, number one, which you
Absolutely.
probably want to do before the session so that you show up most
Absolutely.
having left your baggage behind, maybe, or whatever the word, whatever the
Mhm.
right way is to say that. And then to stay connected to yourself at all times while you're being connected with your clients, so that, and these are the
Mhm.
exercises maybe to know whether what is coming up in your body, because like you say, sometimes you do need to go forward and it has to do with what the client needs. Right?
Mhm.
I don't know if I'm getting this right, because
Very
I
good.
don't want to
Very
fight.
good.
I would, the last thing I would ever want to do is fight what is coming up naturally because of what the
Mhm.
client brings.
Mhm.
Um,
That's it.
and I think for me, maybe the hardest part of, I don't think it's any particular exercise here that felt explicitly hard, because I think it also depends on the moment and what might be going on for me in
Mhm.
that day.
Mhm.
So I think just knowing that is the first
That's
thing.
it.
Yeah.
So I think you have pointed a very key subject here. We are affecting the clients with our presence. We are, and what we're going to demonstrate later is that we have always listened that we have to come into the session like a blank wall without no showing anything, just to absorb it. Is the contrary. Is our presence, is of our grounded presence, which is completely different, what it impacts the client. And that's why it is so hard to achieve, because we really need to go deep into this. We're going to go in further, with much more detail, okay?
I think Karine
Okay.
has a question or a comment.
I would rather prefer maybe the comments for later, so we can go
end?
into the
Okay.
next. Okay, great. So, okay, so next slide is slide 8, which is the power of not knowing, okay? I am writing this slide in the work of originally by John Keats, which is a poet in 1917, sorry, and later adopted by, well, psychoanalyst Brian and also Bernie Glassman. Okay, what does it, the concept here is our ability to stay as coaches in uncertainty, in mystery, in doubt, without any irritable reaching after the fact of the session is important here. We have been trained, as I was answering you, to ask clever questions, etc. But the more you try to be the expert, so the one who knows, the less space it is there for the client wisdom to emerge. So when we rush to fill a gap in a conversation, we are not just rescuing ourselves from our discomfort. It's the move from being an expert to being a witness of the unknown. And that's on us. That's a technique that we need to master in coaching. It's a state of being as well. So we name here 3 types of silences. There is the analytical silence, when we are just analyzing and understanding and decoding. That probably AI can do it very good. there is the awkward silence, which feels like a disconnection when you feel something happened during the session and I'm not connecting again. But that is the third kind of silence, is generative silence, which is very, very key. This is the silence that follows from a powerfully deep realization. The silence is thick. It feels in the air, and the room has changed. The client brain is literally rewiring itself. Silence in this is the oxygen for this insight. So when the client goes into this silence because he was talking, his brain is often doing the hardest work on the session. And we need to respect that. So we interrupt that, we are creating a circuit, a break circuit, and we are damaging the whole session. So being able to hold the silence, that generative silence, is part of what we need to consider in presence as well. So, and for sure, the AI is not going to decode this very well. So let's try something. I'm going to stop talking for 25 seconds right now. And I want you to notice what happens in your body. And notice the urge, if you need any urge or any circumstance. Okay? Let's start. So, what was your experience? Share it in the chat box. How was your TPN? Was it trying to fix the void? Or how comfortable did you feel with my silence? So if we can stay present and grounded in our 3 axes during that itch, we are giving the client the oxygen that he needs to find their own truth. Restful. Very grounded. Very good. Okay. Thank you for this sharing. Okay, we can go to the next slide, slide 9. Okay, we are going to go very briefly here because you already know this and you can go into the ICF materials. What I just want to underline here is how ICF had really decoded what is present into very concrete markers that we can follow, partnering with the now, generative silence, as we have talked, somatic awareness, mirroring the energetic fields, comfort with the void, limbic resonance. Okay, so this is key and very, very important to have into consideration. And that's what, when we will be in our exams or in upgrading our credentials, we are going to be assessed by this. And this is important because a concept that was almost poetry has become here a very measurable way to consider this. Okay, so let's go into the next slide, please. Which is presencing. Okay, great. Okay, so this comes from Otto Scharmer, that he was the creator of the presencing theory, that means presence with sensing. And this is the act of connecting to our highest future possibility. And in the theory, you he requires three things to walk through these three doors: an open mind, an open heart to feel the field, and an open will to let go our own agenda for the client. So when we're waiting for the source, the moment when the client stops talking about the past and starts feeling the pull of their future, that's when it happens. Why is this so key for coaching? It's because how presence actually helps to create innovation. So if you're working with very creative teams, with innovation, with high-tech people exploring new fields, that concept is absolutely indispensable. So Theory U coaching is about helping the client to cross this threshold into something entirely new. The client will go from here, which is what he normally says, to here, to the bottom. Here in the bottom, that's why he's called the U theory, is when we need to hold that space. So it's a void when it comes. And only when the void arrives is when the future that is trying to be shown up can emerge. Okay? So for this, we need to be aware of closing the voice of the judgment, which is closing the mind, the voice of cynicism, which is closing the heart, and the voice of fear, which is closing the will. So our presence acts like a shield against these three voices. And I'm giving the client the courage to let go of who they were and let come of what they are becoming. But there is another step also, is sensing that emerging freedom. And this is where coaching becomes truly a state of art. We are sensing the future that wants to emerge. Here, presency feels risky to the client. Is the voice of the fear. Is what our biological safety is a prerequisite for this to happen. I don't know if you have had the experience, but sometimes I have witnessed in my coaching practice that a client just comes and says, "Hi, I just realized that I don't want to fix my business. What I want to is start a new one." That is a presencing moment. That is when something new has emerged, and taking that and allow that to grow is part of what they need to do for maintaining and giving him the chance to develop his full potential. Is the moment when the client stops talking about the past, the immediate past, and starts feeling the pull about the future. So, I want you, go to the next slide. I want you to explore this from a different perspective. Can you please go into the play at the bottom of the slide? We're going to listen, and I want you to listen this very carefully. Can you see it or not? At the bottom of the picture.
No, let me.
No?
I only see the icon that wants to play something, but
Okay. Can you please make me your host so I can share? Sorry, here. Sorry for this disruption. Wait.
I think you have to share the sound first on the.
Yes, I am putting it. Just wait this to be happening and. I don't know what happens here. Sorry, really. I need to recover my presence. Okay.
And I made you host and I don't have any power now.
Okay, so I even lost where we were. I don't know what.
We were in the
Sorry.
violins.
Okay, okay. So I am the host here. Let me share here.
Here, I can share now. What I
Okay.
cannot share is the sound.
No, no, no. I'm going to put the sound here. Okay. Okay. Sorry for this interruption. Please close your eyes and feel this.
I don't think we have a sound.
No?
We do? Yes?
Yes? Are you hearing or not?
Yes, we have sound.
Okay, sorry. So I want to, okay, let's share here. Okay, I'm coming back. What did you feel?
I loved it. I love violins and it makes me feel calm.
It was a very relaxing, beautiful music. Yeah.
Mm.
It felt like the universal human experience.
Okay.
It made me feel like moving.
Okay. This piece is the two-string violin concert for violin from Bach. And this is the part of Largo ma non troppo. It's one of the masterpieces from my perspective in which we can see what is happening when we breathe together and what is happening with the limbic resonance in his purest form. The simultaneous entry of the soloist is the biologic synchronization that we discussed in polyvagal theory. As one violin was rising in intensity, the other was providing a stable grounding harmony, the base of the iceberg, supporting the action. So the silence in the sound and how we use the micropauses, this was key. Those tiny silences they two playing were sensing where the next note that wants to go. And the melodies was entwined. They aren't competing for attention. When one violin moves into a complex passage, the other holds long and steady note. This is the iceberg of mastering, okay? So your present is the first violin as a coach. It sets the tone, long and steady. And the coachee's voice with the second violin, going around and exploring and talking, okay? So I really wanted to share these with you because it's deeply, deeply. And I invite you to listen to this piece. We don't have that much time now, but the next time you use this piece, or you can go and search for it, or you can even send you this. Go and explore this because it's really, really very deep. Okay, so we have just 10 more minutes, isn't it?
Yes, we have 10 more minutes.
Okay, great. So let's go now into slide 12, please.
This one?
No, 12.
I see the name, the numbers.
I didn't see the numbers. Okay,
No.
that what? This,
This
that's
okay.
okay. Okay. This is how quantic theory is supporting presence. And it gives another layer of deepness of what does it mean when we talk about presence. Something very important about this concept is that when we are looking at something, this is what we see is multiple particles of pure possibility. That's what quantic theory says. They are always there, millions of there. When they become reality, when one observer takes one of them and define that to be a reality. What we do in a coaching journey is that we drive the client to explore new possibilities that haven't been there before, okay? And what they can do is to take those that are more aligned with the new mindset that the coachee is bringing into the session, and we can create a new reality. I would like to share you an example from my practice. I was working with a very concerned coachee that has been really suffering because he had just migrated from a new place. He was forced to migrate. He was feeling that he has lost who he was in the past, all his, I don't know, his rewards, all his place in society. And he was looking this new place as all that I have lost, all that I have seen that is not important for me, I have lost it. So during the coaching process, what we did was, which were the new possibilities that were for him available in the new space? And how can he create a new theory? And how could he do that? Because he came into his somatic action as well. He reminds his past, and he remembered that his grandfathers had also had a huge migration, in a family migration given to a war, Second World War II. And he got inspired by that story. So he had the strength, he was being able to be centered, and he chose new possibilities, and he had being able to create a new possibility. We do that often in a coaching session, but what we are not aware is that has an expression, a scientific expression in quantum theory. Everything we see, we are creating the reality, and that depends on who is observing the reality. This has a huge implication in coaching because that means that we are not being neutral in what we are showing up in the session. if we are centered, if we are able to let go our story and just being there for the client, and if we are just being holding our presence and giving the presence to be able to navigate through the space, we are allowing that coachee to select a new reality that before was not able to be decoded. And this is incredibly powerful. I've been working around this concept a lot. I don't have the time to go deep, but this is highly, highly impactful when we discover. Okay? So we have 8 more minutes, and I just wanted to share with you the last 1.5, maybe more, 5 minutes more for questions. This is the depth of being. The TPN mode is here, the tip of the iceberg. Okay, that this is what we show. This is our cognitive expressions. This is what regular coaching happens. Okay, this is the techniques. These are the right questions. Okay. The rest that is happening here in the downside is our being. This is our presence. This is who we are. This is if we have arrived to master the grounded presence, if we are centered in our 3 axes, and we are there for the coachee, this is where is holding the space of the coaching and making possible this to happen in a transformative way. If not, the conversation remains here at the tip of the iceberg. But if we really want to produce transformation, we need to work around this very deeply. Well, I think this is all for now. I would have maybe much more things to share with you, but time is time. I maybe would like to give you some space for questions, comments, doubts, whichever comes to your mind.
Who would like to go first?
Can I just a comment? Thank you, Victoria. I think was a beautiful presentation, really. And what stays with me is the violins. I love the analogy of the violins and the coachee being the second violinist giving the notes and the rhythm, and we are just there. Right. I love it. Thank you.
There you go. Victoria, I loved your presentation. And there was a phrase you mentioned that really impacted me, which was our grounded presence is what impacts the client. And really that, I found that very powerful.
That's it. When we go deep into presence is about ourselves. That's the difference between a PCC and an MCC. An MCC, and those of us that have been passing through that complex process, it's about us. It's about how you are able to show up and be showing that grounded presence that is helping the client to and helping the session, that in the session that can happen whatever it has to happen. But because we are holding there is our presence. And the idea that we are affecting with our presence and because of this mirroring of neurons, because of this limbic resonance, because this DMN mode, all this is they are the same thing. If you see, there is a high parallelism between one another. The only thing that was going deep into the researchers, but it's our presence that counts. So what is complex is that we know the technique here. How can we forget even about the technique and about the list of questions, and just be there, and the question would come automatically natural for us. We don't need to think what is the question just arises because we're truly connected. That's the difference.
That's beautiful. Victoria, do you have a LinkedIn profile link
Yes.
so we can share with the group? Kim was asking
the last
slide.
Yes, slide.
Okay, and I remember Kareem had a comment or question a few minutes ago.
Thank you, Gloria. This was really impactful, and I appreciate the way of everything.
Thank you so much.
Nuanced understanding of presenters and so at the time, my comment was on the axes, how that had impacted this sort of spaciousness, the container, the void. As I
am not copying you. Your voice is sounding very so I'm not being able to understand. In the meantime, could you share the slide, Claudia?
Yes, I shared your LinkedIn profile here in the chat.
Okay.
But it's here for those of you who want to. No, wait, this is not the one.
Okay. That was the one.
No, that was.
Yes, in which is my profile and everything.
This one.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, Karim, can you go again and try to see if I can understand better the question?
Yeah, sure. Is this clearer?
Much more, yes.
Okay, great. Yes, at the time I was thinking I was going to comment on the axes specifically, but overall, well, and essentially how that created a certain spaciousness in me, and that really resonates with the void aspect of what you mentioned at the beginning, which I think is something that I want to thank you for in terms of the breakdown of what the three elements of almost what it is: the somatic act, the nature and understanding and awareness of the connection with the person in front of me, and the space, the container in which we're holding them, and how all of these things really came together so nicely to make that more possible and more as an intentional thing. And I wrote sort of my summary: understanding the potential of the person in front of me. That's the power. And it's not just about bringing it out, but it's about seeing it and being a space that can see it and hold it and bring it to life in who I'm being. And that I'm reminded through the axes, and particularly the sagittal, which when you asked about which one is sort of most challenging to keep in touch with when someone is crying, the sagittal was the one that I think was for me to the sort of centering and authority. That's not like not an authority over anything, but an authority in terms of the reason for being here and having everything behind me and supporting me and lifting me to be that.
That's it. That's it.
So
exactly.
Thanks a lot.
Just a few words before closing. The intention of this talk was for you to feel that you are a very unique human miracle. We are all human miracles, and that's the key for our difference between AI coaching and all this threaten that we are feeling. Don't just be a coach who does coaching. Be a coach who resonates. Be a coach that is capable to being like the concert, flowing with each other and being this long first violin string in which we're holding the space. And meditation is to try to listen that piece. I'm going to share that maybe in the chat box, so you can really go and listen to this, because it's very, very important. Is how we can sustain the creation and that metaphor, that beautiful metaphor, because it's completely different. Okay, that's what we are as coaches. We are sustaining that whole. And we didn't have the time, but I would have loved to put the whole piece and to see the steps, but for time reasons, that's not being possible. So thank you very, very much. And it's been a pleasure to have you all here. It has been really very, very interesting for me.
Thank you so
for
much
all your comments and your questions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.